Welcome to the wrap up and review of the 2023 Run for the Million here on Up for Discussion. Uh, this year was a really good horse show. Probably not as tough or deep as last year's, but it was a very strong outing for a lot of horses. And we'll get to the congratulations in the end. But I'm going to run through my predictions and take a look at how everybody ended up and did they do what I thought or better or worse or what happened. So I'll go in the order of my predictions as opposed to the order of the class. So I predicted Casey Hinton to be 17th, and I was completely wrong. Casey did exactly what he did at Cactus. He maximized that horse. He turned him awesome. Everything looked really good. That horse's max ability, I said, was about a 227. He was a 226, and he ended up, I believe, tied for 8th place. And it was a great deal. And it was excellent to see Casey have that good of a run on that horse. And I'm really happy for him and Kathy. And that was a great run. 16 is, I don't want to call him my overachiever because he was capable of it. I just didn't expect it with this horse. But Martin Muhlstetter had one of the best runs that I've ever seen that horse have. Easily the best run I've ever seen that horse have. And Martin had a great run. That thing stopped as good as everything except maybe 2 horses in the pen. He marks a 228. He ends up 5th. Me personally, I had him a little more in the mix than that. But I'll tell you what, it was still a great run and a great result for Martin. And I mean, you got to be proud of the horse. And Martin did exactly what he does. He showed really smart, really aggressive, and his run was really exciting, especially being that early. And he's in a small group that gets to say, "Hey, I was in the lead of the Run for the Million for a while." It was one horse, but he still got to be it there and placed high and won a bunch of money, so that's great for him. 15th was Sierra and Living on a Prayer, or Bon Jovi, I guess is his barn name. Sierra was fighting an uphill battle because she was basically catch riding. Man, she showed what she had, though. She ran circles like crazy on this horse, and I wish that he had been a little looser in the front end for her, and that she had got him to fire a little better. She was good, but not the great that you need to be in this deal. And she ended up in 13th place, a little higher than what I predicted, but still in that lower end. And once again, that's where I think familiarity is so important. Don't discount Sierra there. She did a great job, and she maxed out what she was going to get in those circles. It was really great to see. My 14th place prediction is the guy who had the hard luck of the deal. And proof to all of our non-pros, penalties kill. And Dan had the bad luck string this year, fell out of lead and wasn't able to get it back for quite a while, and it hurt his score a lot more than what that horse is. That horse is way better than what that score indicates. Dan's way better than what that score indicates. Just a bad luck deal, and unfortunate for him that it happened on the biggest of stages. For 13th, I predicted Gennaro Lendi. Gennaro had a lot of horse changes and a lot of stuff going on that I don't know what the plan was. I don't know what the behind the scenes was. I would like to know, actually, because it would change some things. The horse he ended up showing is a very nice horse. I don't think it's of the caliber to go play at this level. And once again, another kind of like Sierra, he maximized what he had available to him, and it just wasn't really enough. But you could see flashes of why he dominated in Italy for so long as such a top level competitor. And man, it was there. It's just he just needed a little more horsepower. My 12th place prediction was Mandy McCutcheon and Mr. Fahrenheit, Freddie. Mandy did things very well for the most part and ended up tied for 8th. Her big stop was there every time. There was a bobble in one turnaround, and that's what I think cost her from stepping up to that next level. Mr. Fahrenheit just didn't fire the one way, but man, that is such a cool looking horse when he circles and stops. He is so consistently good. The problem is you need to be consistently great at the top level of this, but that's where she ends up, is right there in the mix, and that's what the run she had was. It was at any other horse show she had a very good run. At this horse show she had a good run, and that is all the difference. And for those of you who understand the judges scale of how we plus maneuvers, plus half is a good, a plus 1 is a very good, and plus 1.5 is an excellent. And that's the scale on the positive side. And what I mean by that is she went through and was a plus everywhere, but she was most often a good plus, not a very good plus. And that was the difference there. In 11th, I had Craig predicted, Craig Schmersel, and no smoking required. And I said the layoff is what concerns me, and the fact that it's just one of those things. Like I assumed the layoff would hinder the performance. I didn't assume that there would be a big penalty in it. And this is, once again, it's horse showing. It happens. When he missed the lead change and going into that small slow, pattern 9 is conducive to this, that if you miss that lead change, it will snowball the penalties, because once you miss it, you're already at a quarter and they're on such a tight circle, it's really hard to get it back when their body isn't able to be straight. He broke gate as well as dragging the lead. That really, really hurt. And which was otherwise a really good run. Like, I mean, he marked a 208 and had 4 points in penalties per judges, so he lost 12 points. He would have been around a 220. And remember, after that, Craig kind of cruised through because it wasn't conducive to go put the hammer down after. I mean, he still showed his horse, but it wasn't conducive to go put the hammer down once you were that far out with penalties. So Craig showed his horse smart, took care of his horse, and did a really good job. And once again, that horse is an awesome horse. It's hard to come out of the breeding shed when you're not actively showing as well and come back to being a show horse. For my 10th place prediction, I predicted Francesco Martinati and Spook's Got a Tinsel. Francesco outperformed my prediction slightly. And it's funny because on this run, this horse showed what his strength is, which is stopping. He's a monster stopper, and that literally pulled him up the leaderboard, just his stopping ability. His circles were good to very good, but they are, compared to some of the other more dynamic stuff you see in the higher echelons of this class, they were a little flat. And, you know, that's just, it's the name of the game. You have to, this event has gotten so elite, you have to be excellent. You have to be very good to excellent at everything. And Francesco was good to very good at everything. Very good stopper. Good circles, and probably good to very good turns. But that's where he's at, and that was a really incredible thing to watch that horse, though, being able to hit his backside that hard. And he is a fun stopper to watch in person. My 9th place prediction was Jordan Larson. And Jordan had 2 things go wrong in his run in an otherwise really good run. And that was his first run in the stop. I don't know if he caught a front foot or a bad spot in the ground, which I didn't think there was bad spots from watching the ground. But the first 2 horses both had a little trouble navigating it. I don't know if it changed everybody else's approach. And then in one circle, I Shine at Night did something I've never seen him do before. And he just kind of, that corner when it was getting really loud, when he was running a big fast, he just kind of lost track and kind of untracked himself. Jordan got him right back, finished showing him strong. He turned great. He stopped huge on the last 3 stops. And he circled good. But once again, this is those 2, when you have 2 things that are in the negative column before you even start and everything else has to, that's when you put yourself in a hole and you have to go be excellent everywhere. Jordan was really good in some things and good in other things, but he needed that excellent to make it up. And it just wasn't there that night. And that doesn't say anything bad about that horse or Jordan. Man, that's a team to watch for, and they're a threat anytime they walk in the pen. But that's the unfortunate thing of horse showing, and sometimes those hiccups happen. I believe he ended up in 14th place. Next, my prediction was 8th place was Trevor Dare and Hercules, or Jersey's baby driver, as most people know him. Trevor was picked here simply, in my prediction video, I said it's the familiarity is why he picked him. And the time off was my concern, because very rarely do you see a horse come back out of retirement and be able to show at the same level that they did before. Hercules got close. I mean, he was 8th place with a 224 and a half, I believe. And 3 of his 4 stops were the great, excellent, very good, whatever you want to say in that upper echelon of stopping that we're used to from that horse. He just didn't seem to have enough turnaround, and man, he did circle good. But there's just some stuff in that layoff that makes a horse be just a smidge flat compared to some of the ones that are actively going and showing. And I'm not saying they actively had to show right up till the horse show, but the ones that are on a regular schedule of still getting prepped, wound up, show, come back down, train, prepped, wound up show, and they do that on a regular basis, those seem to be the horses that are the strongest in this event. And that's the thing I've noticed over the past 3 years. My number 7 prediction was Cade McCutcheon and Varsity Blue. Cade was tied for 6th, I believe. Sixth. It was like 6th through 7th, 6th and 7th. He was a 226. Cade did exactly what I expected, just not quite as strong in some places. He was consistent all the way through, good things. And I made this comment to Gunny Matheson while we were watching the autograph signing. We walked by while they were signing autographs, and I was talking to him about a few of the riders and stuff, and I mentioned to him that the biggest difference I see in Cade's program compared to even last year or 2 years ago is his turnaround program. His spin program has gotten so much better. And it showed off that night. That was probably that horse's best maneuver, and that's saying something because that horse is good at everything. Just there wasn't quite enough of that top end to jump up there with the top few. That being said, that's a great job showing that horse, and I think that horse, as he gets older, will continue to develop. And if he stays that solid with maxing out his top end a little higher, he's going to be a hard one to get around for the next 2 years in the Derbies. My 6th place prediction was Sean Flarida and May the Force Be With You. Sean had a few more iffy bobbles than I think people would have guessed. He ended up 12th, and this horse is so cool. Like there's so much to this horse that is really, really a wicked thing. And the one stop was massively huge, and probably 2 of them you could say were massively huge. There was a couple good, but once again, it was the inconsistency of lack of familiarity, I think, on this team that got them. Because there's times where Sean went to do the Sean stuff, and that horse kind of went, I don't know that, but I'm going to try. And that's what I love about this horse is the try and the effort that he's got. But there was some, and it's just that half-second miscommunications that kind of took away that snappy edge that we'll see from these top few horses. My 5th place prediction was Danny Tremblay and Tinker with Dreams. Cilantro. Cilantro looked amazing. He turned probably second best of anybody both ways. He circled arguably the best of anybody. He's in the argument. And with the exception of one stop where there was a little bobble in the rundown, he looked amazing. There's some certain things that you could make the argument from 2nd to 4th that they could have placed in any way, depending on preference. But if that's your argument between those 3 horses that there's a half-point difference of, then you're arguing about the littlest details and the finer points. And I want to say that was, I think that Danny being 2nd was justified. It was very good, and especially since I got to watch everything back on the replay, it looked much different. Danny's run looked much different from the camera than it did from where I was sitting in the arena, which was right behind chair 1. 4th place. Okay. This is the run that I could spend the most time talking about, because this horse showed up and showed why he's among my favorite horses in the country, and that is Gonna Step Ya. I predicted him to be 4th. He ended up in a tie for 3rd and 4th, and this is Gina Schumacher's run. Gina was easily the fan favorite. It was so much fun watching her show this horse. He buried his back end in the first stop. He turned. This is the question I have, and I want to know this because I haven't got to look at the scorecard yet. But me watching it live, I had both turns at a +1.5. I had them at excellent turnarounds. I think he turned the best of anybody in that class. I think he circled really well. There's one point of contention in his circles that makes it go from maybe a +1.5 to a +0.5, or to a +1, I mean. And it's an argument dependent on how much it bothered you. And that horse is very active with his mouth when he runs circles. The arguments are, any sign of that would be a sign of resistance, so you can't go all the way to an excellent. The other argument is, nobody's touching him. It's just the way he moves. It's a nervous tick. That doesn't mean that it's the maneuver. And it can go either way. And honestly, that's the spread. If you're looking at cards later and it comes out that that's the difference, that would be a spread, and that would be a reason why that maneuver would be spread, because it will depend on the person judging it. Me personally, I'm not offended by it. I thought the circles were very good, and he stopped huge 2 of the 3 stops. And then we get to my one contentious point. Coming around to that last stop, you could see Dwayne on the side giving Dwayne Latimer, her coach, giving her a big thumbs up, and Gina having a wide smile on her face because she knew how good of a run she was having. On this last stop, she did everything right until for a split second she relaxes, and that horse steps forward out of that stop. That is, everybody's made that mistake at least once. Everybody from Andrea Fapani down to me, everybody from Sean Flair to anybody you want to name that's ever shown a reining horse has made that mistake. And it's I'm done, I'm excited, it was good, oh no, that happened. It's the most minor of details, but it is such an incredibly tough thing to have happen in that moment. For me, I'm so happy that the run was that good and they still didn't kill her for it. But at the same time, it breaks my heart because I think if that horse doesn't step out of that last stop, he's right there and we might have had a runoff. We might have had a different winner. We might have had a different second place. I don't know, but it was so close to being, a non-pro winning the run for the million. And it would have been an amazing thing to see a horse that good get rewarded for that run. Now, I'm going to jump around a little bit here because my predictions from here are not quite right. They weren't right anyways. I missed almost everybody. But I got 4 of the top 5 in the top 5. I just placed them wrong. Second place prediction was Casey Deary. Did an almost typical amazing run. He was good, very good, excellent everywhere. The one thing that hurt him that's definable that we know hurt him was the overspin. He had a half-point overspin penalty, and that cost him a lot because that puts him from a 229.5 to a 231, just mathematically. The other thing is, for as great as amazing is, I expected more of him that night. I still say that his calendar year from last year to this show, from the shootout last year to the run for the million, is one of the greatest achievements ever in NRHA history. If he had won that deal, you put him in the Hall of Fame next year. Honestly, as soon as that horse is done showing, he needs to be a horse in the NRHA Hall of Fame for his show accolades alone. That is one of the greatest horses we've ever seen. I still say he's the best horse going right now in terms of consistency and athleticism and his mind and everything else. And just because he ended up in a tie for 3rd and 4th does not take that away. Was he as amazing as he has been earlier this year? No. Was he still far and away one of the 4 best horses in this field? Absolutely. And that's why that's a very strong difference with this horse that is so incredible, because on an off night, he's still a 229.5. On a good night, he's a 232 to a 234. That's the difference in an all-time great horse and something else. He's an off night, and he's not anywhere near the bottom. He's still right at the top, still threatening. And that's something, and I know it won't help Casey lick his wounds, but that's something Casey should be proud of, that he trained a horse that is that good. And yeah, that horse's talent took him there, but that is a trainer's dream, to be able to train one and know that you trained one that well. And my prediction for my winner, I get an asterisk on this because I said in the video, if he showed Trash Talking Spook, he wouldn't win, but I said if he showed All Bets Are Off, he would. Showed All Bets Are Off in the shootout on Friday, and Andrea Fapani did win the shootout with a big score. I heard from people why he didn't show All Bets Are Off and why he chose to show Trash Talking Spook instead, and it made sense. It really does. His reasoning made sense to me. Andrea's issue was not the choice of horse, no matter what everybody's going to say, oh, blah, blah, blah. That's backseat quarterbacking. That's not what it was. He went out there and had the start of the run that he didn't have last year. It stopped bigger this year in the first stop than it did last year. It backed up great. It turned awesome, but he had a half-point penalty both ways. It circled really, really good. Like, he was fixing to be probably very good +1s on both sides of the circles. When it comes to stopping this horse, he usually stops better than that. He's usually more honest than that. But this is a sign of just the horse getting excited, Andrea getting excited, whatever it was, I don't know. But when he turned that corner, that first stop was monstrous, and when he came back for 2 and 3, he wanted to get, the horse was not trying to be bad, just trying to get ahead of him a little bit. And it hurt the quality of those last 2 maneuvers, and that's what cost Andrea and why he ended up in his tie for, I believe it was the tie for 8th through 10th. And a 225.5 on an off night is an excellent thing. Kind of what I just ranted about with Downright Amazing, that his off night is a 229. Lefty's off night is a 225. I wish I had horses that had good nights that were 225s. And this horse is having an off night that's 225. It's one of those things that's the different level that these guys are playing at. That this much mistake or this much difference is what's going to hurt you going forward and drop you from potentially being second to being 8th. And draw 3, or my prediction for number 3, is our winner, Jason Van Landingham. And Jason did almost exactly what I thought he was going to do. He killed them with consistency. That horse was very good in probably 6 of the maneuvers at least, maybe 7 if you want to argue it. He was a steady +1, +1, +1, +1. Everything about that run is consistency, dynamism, athleticism, willing. It's everything we want to see in a horse. And even late in the draw, at draw 16, he was one of the last ones that we got to see. The crowd had been cheering so loud, they were so tired. And Jason made the run that he needed to make on that horse. He made the run he's made 2 or 3 times. This time, no one made a better run. And the horse that was always the bridesmaid got to have its moment in the sun. And I am so happy for that horse. I've been saying he's the unluckiest horse. He's the unluckiest great horse of all time because he was in this era that's so dominant. But that run, if you can find it, go watch it. I believe they uploaded on Vimeo. I believe it's on Facebook. But go watch that run and be happy for both the rider and the horse because that horse deserves that kind of greatness and those kind of accolades on him. It's getting to the point where the run for the million, the trouble with it is going to be, just like every year at the fraternity, just like every year at the Derby, we've gotten so good with what our horse flesh is that a great horse is now considered not good enough for the run for the million because they need to be of a certain level. And that is an incredible testament to our breeders, to our trainers, and to our showmen that a 225 is now considered an off night at a major event. So I also want to throw one last thing in here, and this is slightly off topic, so I don't know how I'm going to fit this in the video, but it'll probably just be tacked on the end. I want to give credit, and I sort of talked to 2 of them. One of them said he would call me back, didn't, and the other one did text me back. The judges. I want to say, and all 5 of them I know, all 5 of them are excellent judges, and that's why they're judging this event. And those guys did a phenomenal job. The judges, the monitor, everybody, all 5 of them, they had their difference of opinions, which you're supposed to have, but in the end, the coordinated teamwork between them and letting the system do its job while each of them did their job led to the results the way they were, and it's very, very close to what it should have been, in my opinion, which is my opinion, and I think they did a great job with a difficult time judging a reining that had a lot of picking out the finer details between good, very good, and excellent. Some of them very self-explanatory, but the good, very good, excellent thing, and when that's that fine detail at these major events, that is very, very difficult to set off. So I want to say that it was awesome that they did that, and with that, I want to know your guys' thoughts in the comments below, both on the video and on the other. So with that, I will sign off, and we will see you guys in the next episode, which will probably happen sometime in September. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.